Cool. Hi, I'm Miriam. I'm a second-year student at the University of York, studying writing, directing and performance for film, theatre and television, which, as my housemates do remind me every day of my life, is just drama. So, thanks guys. Today I want to challenge you to get your feet wet. Now, I'm doing this, I found an amazing passage in Joshua chapter 3, which, if you want to look at, is on page 207 of the Bibles on your table. And I stumbled across a story in there that blew my mind, and I couldn't understand why I'd never been told about it before, or why it had never kind of been made a bigger deal of. And then I realised, basically, Joshua gets upstaged in Sunday school by Moses, which isn't a bad shout if you're going to be upstaged by somebody. Now, for those of you who may not remember, back in the day when we learned about it, Moses, he leads the Israelite nation out of Egypt, okay, and he has to cross the Red Sea. And God tells him to stick his staff, his stick, into the water, and when he does that, God parts the Red Sea, and the Israelites are able to walk across safely on dry ground and escape the Egyptians. Amazing. Joshua, same thing happens, but even more exciting, I find. And so, if you want to have a look in your Bibles, I'll read it. It's on the screen anyway. This is God's command to Joshua. Same vibe. Joshua is leading the Israelites. He too comes through an expanse of water, this time the River Jordan. And this is what God says. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of all Israel, so they may know that I am with you as I was with Moses. Tell the priests who carry the Ark of the Covenant, when you reach the edge of the Jordan's waters, go and stand in the river." So in this story, for God to move, he commanded the priests, the guys that were leading the whole nation of Israel, to get their feet wet. The actual event. Verse 14. So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is at flood stage all during harvest. Yet, as soon as the priests who carried the Ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. Verse 17. The priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stopped in the middle of the Jordan and stood on dry ground, while all Israel passed by, until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground. Bam. Amazing. I find this challenging and inspiring, this story. So for Joshua to get to the next stage of his journey, past the Jordan, they would hit the promised land. So this is big stuff. For them to do that, it wasn't a passive thing. He couldn't just stand there and wait for God to hand it to him on a plate, just wait for things to move in front of him. It required him to get up, to do something. It required them to get their feet wet. So that's kind of what I'm challenging you guys. Rather than, yes, sometimes there's definitely scope for sitting and waiting upon God, but sometimes it requires us to take action, to step up, to get our hands dirty, get out our comfort zones and get our feet wet. How do I believe the priests did it? Well, given that they're looking at an expanse of water, it is impossible for them to cross that, particularly at flood season as well, so it's even more hectically deep. How do I think they had the guts to go and stand in the water and get their feet wet? They had the presence of God with them. And the Bible says we can do anything with God, like nothing is impossible for him. So I reckon, even if it's scary, even if it is getting right out of your comfort zone, if you've got the presence of God with you, risk it. You can do anything. God can open up the dry ground before you if you're willing to get your feet wet. This story, I hope, challenges me throughout my life. I hope I'm always being nudged by God to get my feet wet. And to be honest, I love this picture, like this kid. I'd love it if God commanded me to. I'd love to have the guts to get completely soaked for him. So this is what I challenge you. What areas or situations in your own life can you take a risk in? Where can you step out and get your feet wet? Maybe there are areas where you're already being nudged by God to do that. If you don't know God yet, there's still going to be areas of your life where you think, I could step up to the mark, I could get out of my comfort zone, and it could